A sprawling modern city, glimmering with high-tech skyscrapers, neon-lit streets, and bustling crowds. The city's heart pulses with life, but its underbelly is shadowy and enigmatic, a place where secrets thrive and danger lurks. Amid the noise, there's an air of tension. Something isn't quite right in the world. Chapter 1: The Vanishing. The city never sleeps. Cars stream through endless highways, drones hum above delivering packages, and street vendors shout out their wares beneath flickering billboards advertising the latest tech gadgets. Amid all this chaos, a young journalist named Leona Hayes feels a growing sense of unease. Leona lives in a small, cramped apartment on the outskirts of the city's bustling core. It's a far cry from the luxury towers downtown, but she's always liked being close to the ground where real stories happen. Lately, there's been chatter on the underground news forum she frequents. People are disappearing. At first, it seemed like random isolated cases, but now the pattern is undeniable. The city's dark alleys and abandoned sectors seem to swallow people whole. This morning, Leona received a tip from an anonymous source. "It's bigger than you think. Meet me at Station 9, 11 p.m. The message was cryptic, but she knew better than to ignore it. She's been following leads about these disappearances for weeks. The city's officials, powerful corporate figures, and law enforcement all claim there's no cause for concern. But Leona's gut tells her they're covering something up. As she leaves her apartment, the city's skyline looms above her, a glittering beacon of wealth and progress. But beneath that facade lies a labyrinth of forgotten streets and decaying buildings, the perfect place for someone, or something, to hide. Chapter 2: The Informant. The platform at Station 9 is deserted, the trains less frequent in this part of the city. Leona checks her watch. 11 p.m. sharp. A cold breeze sweeps through the underground station, carrying with it a hint of something metallic and stale. Suddenly, she hears footsteps. A figure emerges from the shadows, their face obscured by a hood. "You're Leona, right?" The voice is low, cautious. Leona nods, her hand instinctively resting on the recorder in her jacket pocket. The figure steps closer, lowering their hood. It's a man in his mid-30s, with hollow eyes and an air of desperation. "My name's Carter. I used to work for the city monitoring agency." Leona feels a jolt of recognition. CMA's responsible for the network of surveillance systems spread across the city. "Used to?" she asks. "They fired me when I got too close," Carter says, his eyes scanning the station nervously. "The disappearances, they aren't random. Someone is using the city's own systems to track and erase people. They're targeting specific individuals, people who are too curious, too rebellious." Leona's heart races. But why? Who's behind it? Carter hesitates. "A shadow group. They call themselves the Architects. They control more than government, corporations, everything. They're using the city to build something, and anyone who gets in the way vanishes." Before Leona can ask more, the sound of screeching brakes fills the air. A train arrives, empty and ominous. Carter freezes, his eyes wide. "I shouldn't have come here." They know. Without warning, Carter bolts, disappearing into the tunnels. Leona's mind races. Who are the Architects, and what do they want with the city? Chapter 3: Chasing Ghosts. The next morning, Leona finds herself sitting in front of her laptop, piecing together the clues. The more she digs, the clearer it becomes that the Architects have been operating in the shadows for years, hiding behind the city's technological marvels and corporate facades. There are whispers about secret projects, experiments on human behavior, using the city's inhabitants as unwitting subjects. As Leona works, her phone buzzes. It's a message from her editor. "Your piece on the disappearances is too speculative. We can't run it without solid proof. Frustrated, she knows she needs something more tangible to expose this conspiracy. But going deeper means putting herself at risk. She recalls Carter's words, "They're watching." That evening, Leona decides to visit an old contact, Mara, a former hacker turned cybersecurity consultant who once had ties to the underworld. If anyone can help her access the city's surveillance network, it's Mara. The rendezvous is set for a dimly lit bar in the city's southern sector. When Leona arrives, she spots Mara at a corner table, her fingers tapping away at a tablet. Mara is sharp, with short silver hair and eyes that miss nothing. "You're in deep, Leona," Mara says without preamble. "I've been hearing rumors about the architects for years. They're like ghosts, and no one's ever gotten close enough to expose them." Leona slides her notepad across the table. "Carter said they're using the city systems. I need access to whatever they're hiding." Mara raises an eyebrow. "You're playing a dangerous game. But if you're serious, I might know a way in." The city's surveillance grid has a blind spot sector X13. It's an abandoned zone, cut off from the rest of the city. If the architects are operating somewhere, it's there. Chapter 4. The Heart of Darkness. Leona's heart pounds as she steps into Sector X13. The area is eerily silent, with crumbling buildings and overgrown streets, a stark contrast to the glittering metropolis just beyond. She's armed with nothing but a flashlight and her camera, but the weight of the truth feels like armor. As she ventures deeper into the sector, she stumbles upon an old facility, its gates rusted but still secure. A quick search reveals a side entrance, just wide enough to squeeze through. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of decay, but there's something else, a faint hum of electricity. Leona follows the sound to a central control room. Screens flicker with data streams, surveillance footage, and lines of code. At the center is a large, glowing terminal, pulsating like a heartbeat. Suddenly, a voice crackles over the speakers. "We've been expecting you, Miss Hayes." Leona freezes, her blood turning to ice. The end of Part 1.